What the heck has gone on with Francisco Lindor? There's been a lot wrong with this team, obviously. It's not just one particular player. But this is something, Laura, that we saw from the first couple of weeks of the year. Lindor getting picked off of second base, not knowing how many outs are there, making mistakes. And it's one thing to not hit at the start of the year, but those mistakes that he made early on, then obviously the injury, and then he's continuing those mistakes. Lindor's killed this team. He's done nothing for them.
I think it's kind of two-pronged. I mean, the fact of the matter is that this is a guy who, generally speaking, likes to play 162 games, and he was not able to do that. Not having a real spring training because of the hamate bone, I think, definitely affected him. And then psychologically, this is also a player that puts a lot of pressure on himself. And this team, by the time he got back, was already underperforming. After the failure of last year, and it was a cataclysmic failure, kind of going into this revamped locker room, you have new coaches, you have new teammates, you have new everything, and you feel the burden of that. And one of the things that we've heard two things from the clubhouse. One, they're still searching for a sense of identity, so that's difficult. And two, that, the losses pile on and you start pressing, you start pushing. And no one wants to succeed really more than Francisco Lindor. And I do think you're seeing the psychological effects of that in addition to the physical aftermath of the injury. And honestly, who even knows if he is fully healthy? I mean, because we're seeing some plays, I know he's 32 years old, but these are balls that he would get to. These are not mistakes he generally makes. So when you put all that together, of course, there are going to be questions about what is going on and how can they fix it.
I think it's a great point that you made about the expectations on this team and the clubhouse. I believe there's something to the idea that who's not there anymore is impacting this team in a way that goes beyond what's happening on the field. And I wonder if Lindor, as one of the big guns left on the roster, is, sort of putting pressure on himself. They've been so bad for so long this season. He comes back and, hamate bone injuries usually sap power early, and we've seen that with him. And so is he taking more on? Is he grinding on those sorts of things? Like, the performance has got to be there. He said it after the game yesterday. I've got to be better. Yeah. I've got to be better. 100%, obviously. But does even that sort of self-reflection and that sort of onus bearing make him, less likely to do it? I don't know.
Yeah. The reality is, I would have voted for him for MVP in 2024.
You would have been wrong. You would have been wrong.
Hard to be the most valuable player when you don't, in fact, play. Like, DH is not playing. So forget that. We had that argument at the time. He's a DH. Yeah, but he doesn't play. I mean, he sits most of the game on the bench. Lindor played every day, and he played an elite level shortstop, obviously, since June on, took off. So this is not a knock on Lindor. It's that when a team goes as sideways as this team has gone, and there are many reasons for it, I'm looking at the top. Yeah. Who are the best players? I expect the most from the best. Like, did you really expect David Peterson or Mark Vientos or Brett Baty? Like, come on. But Lindor, I did expect to have a good year. Soto's done his part. He's been better than he was a year ago. Lindor hasn't. And it's not just the injury, and it's not just the power being zapped or whatever. Like, how do you excuse the mental errors early on and even the physical errors? Like, that's not what he does. His game is not supposed to be there. He's supposed to be one of the better defenders at shorts.
You don't have to excuse it because he's not excusing himself. I mean, but that's the thing. You go into these scrums and you're there and you're asking questions, and you see Lindor taking this on very, very personally. You can talk about the team as a whole. You can ask Francisco Lindor about the team as a whole. Let's say you're saying, oh, what happened with the offense? You guys only got 3 hits. And it's immediately, it was my fault. I had to do it. When I look at that, and I do think that there is value, there is a lot of value in taking personal responsibility, but sometimes it becomes a little bit of a self-eating snake where you start to doubt yourself a little bit.
That can't happen.
And that cannot happen, and that's kind of what the situation you're in. You cannot underestimate, I think, the mental impact of 2025 and what that did to those guys down the stretch.
Well, this year has gotten even worse. You talked about a cataclysmic failure last year. Sign me up for last year. At least they had games. I was watching until the end of the season. The game meant something literally to the last day of the year. According to Fangraphs, and like Fangraphs, whatever, Mets entered the season with an 86.6% chance to make the playoffs. I think a lot of people assume that they're like, playoffs? Come on. Yeah, of course. Now they're sitting at 0.8%. Sal Graphs, by the way, has them much, much, much lower than that. How did this happen? It's not just Lindor, and it's not just like some people argue about, okay, well, they let this guy go and that guy go and they change it up. A lot of people who know what they're talking about, at the very least, would have had the Mets as a competitive team. Like, if they were 5 under right now, I'd be upset. but at least we could understand that to a certain extent. 17 under? One of the worst teams in baseball, can't get out of their own way, fired the manager, still a train wreck every which way. How did this happen?
You know, Sal, I'm really regretting predicting them to win the NL East this year. I mean, what a dope.
Yeah.
I mean,
you can't get those wrong.
Yeah, I mean, looking back at that now, I mean, what was I thinking? Look, I mean, injuries have obviously been an issue here. I mean, the Clay Holmes thing, Laura mentioned this starting pitching before. The Clay Holmes injury was huge. And the fact of the matter is that the Mets have not constructed a starting staff that will provide any length at all. So that, you know, we're all cheering on their bullpen, you know, which has provided at least some competency this season. But they're about to be exhausted. I mean, they've sunk down to mid-pack in ERA, in bullpen ERA in baseball. So, you know, Luke Weaver's pitching great. How's everybody else doing? You know, they're getting tired at this point because the starters don't do anything. They've had so many catastrophe-level players. I'm talking about the Sengas of the world, guys like that who just, you know, the supposed ace hasn't been able to deliver like everyone in New York thought Freddie Peralta was going to be able to bring here. You know, you go on and on. Their offense is lousy. And I realize that they've had guys missing, and we've talked. Lindor's having the worst season of his career. You know, there's all kinds of things going on, but it's been bad, and bad.